Okay, so welcome again, everyone. My name is Martin Pečar. I am also the Watify ambassador, and this webinar is hosted by Watify. So first of all, let me just explain what Watify is. It's an awareness-raising campaign funded by the European Commission, and the goal is to stimulate the modernization of Europe's industry. So the two main goals are boosting European SMEs for technological transformation and supporting regions of Europe to translate their smart specialization strategies into specific projects. So the three main ways how to do that is to boost and facilitate technological transformation in small and medium enterprises, to connect them with other stakeholders, sharing the best practices, lessons learned, maybe give them some new ideas, and encouraging them to form joint projects, and of course inspire them to somehow transform and work together and use the key enabling technologies for their benefit. These numbers are actually a few months old already. However, Watify has organized plenty of awareness events. So one of them is also this webinar. Also organized over 40 matchmaking events. I have also participated in two of them, or co-organized two of them. One was about smart towns in Central Europe in November, and the second one about artificial intelligence in March. And Watify has also gathered over 100 success stories of technological transformations of small and medium enterprises. And I was really impressed. Watify has organized one major event in beginning of May in Sofia in Bulgaria, and the best success stories were presented there, and they were really impressive. So I really encourage you to check the website of Watify and see what kind of ideas you can get from there. Well, Watify has also organized a lot of parts of different events, meaning special panels, training, coaching sessions, tours, and so on. However, right now the project is somehow nearing its completion, so probably there won't be any specific possibilities to do something like that in the future. However, this was done in the past many times, as also seen by the numbers presented. So anyway, I would really encourage you once again to connect with Watify, follow it on social media, and also check their website, especially regarding those success stories, which will be very interesting, showing what kind of technological transformations are possible in different industries, and some are really fascinating. Okay, so now let's get to the next presentation, which is about blockchain. So blockchain is quite interesting topic, an important topic recently. So let's get down to it. First of all, maybe just to mention, Slovenia is very strong in this, both technologically and also the public has a lot of interest in it. So some time ago in Google Trends, Slovenia was among the top 7 in all the main keywords regarding blockchain. So, okay, but let's get down to the basics. So what is actually blockchain? It is a database, simply put. But technically, it is a growing list of records, blocks, which are linked and secured. And each block contains timestamp, transaction data, and cryptographic hash of the previous block. That means kind of a fingerprint of the information stored within the previous block. This is very important because this is one of the key elements where the security and trust originates from. So blockchain is actually an open distributed ledger that can record transactions between two parties efficiently and in a verifiable and permanent way. This is actually the most general definition of blockchain. Information is valid if majority accepts it, and the technology as such was invented in 2008 for Bitcoin. So here's a schematic representation of a blockchain. So it's actually a chain of blocks, and each block contains information, timestamp information, and also the arrow shows actually the cryptographic hash of the previous block. So the second block has information about what the first block contained, and so forth. So if we would modify some information within the first block, that means we would also need to modify the hash within the second block, and also the hash in the third block, and so forth, because they're all linked together. So that's the first source of the security. And the second one is that this chain of blocks is not only one, but there can be several. There can be many. So each stakeholder can maintain its own copy of the database. So here we have the consensus, meaning at least, well, over 1/2 of the stakeholders have to agree that this information or transaction is valid. And it's done automatically, of course, and therefore it's almost impossible that somebody would fake the information, because all the other stakeholders then comparing the copies would notice that this data is corrupted. So therefore, it's really almost impossible to fake the data within the blockchain, and that's why it's so useful. Okay, we have several versions or generations of blockchain. The first one was developed for Bitcoin, as mentioned in 2008. Bitcoin, there's only a limited amount of it. There's a process called mining, which is generating new Bitcoins, and it's a very computing intensive process, because you have to find a certain number that satisfies specific constraints, and it's getting more and more difficult because more and more people or computers are involved into the process. However, this is still at the moment still lucrative, so it's gathering more and more stakeholders, or more and more people and computers. The downside of the Bitcoin is that the energy consumption is huge. At the moment, it has exceeded the energy consumption of Singapore, and also it's getting quite difficult to get the hardware, because everybody is looking for the graphical cards and so on. And well, it's inefficient because both in time, energy, and price, these costs are much higher if we consider one transaction, much higher than, let's say, a traditional credit card transaction. The second generation of blockchain is Ethereum, and the main advantage is that it contains programming language, which is enabling smart contracts. They are automatically enacted, so we reduce the need for intermediaries, some authorities. However, they cannot be cancelled, annulled like normal contracts can be by the court, for instance. So this might be an issue in some cases. We also need additional mechanisms, so-called Oracle, for accessing external data, and this was developed in 2014. The next generation of blockchain, 3.0, one of them is IOTA, and it's using Tangle. So you can see the picture below. It's not just the chain of blocks, however, actually a Tangle. And each new transaction has to confirm to previous transactions, which is depicted with the arrows here. And the last transactions are depicted gray. So it's much more efficient, faster, cheaper also. So it can also already be used for micropayments, which can be used with a Internet of Things, and therefore it somehow enables so-called economy of things. So there's a huge development of blockchain technology at the moment, which is really speeding up. So we're definitely going to be witnessing a lot of interesting development in the near future also. Well, what's the importance of blockchain logistics? It enables security regarding the data, of course, trust, visibility, analysis of data, smart contracts, and so on. Also, I would like to mention that I'm also a member of Blockchain Think Tank Slovenia, which has several working groups, and I'm coordinating the one for smart cities and logistics. Okay. Thank you for your attention regarding this one. So let's get to the next one. This should be presented by Mr. Mikalami. However, he was unfortunately not able to join us today. So therefore, I'll take over this presentation and hope to be able to cover the basics. Okay. The project Smartlog is also EU-supported project. Focusing on the Baltic region, started in September 2016, lasts for 3 years, and the goal is to speed up the corridor throughput times by at least 5%. The industry problem is that the data is not shared properly across the supply chain. So there are many delays, and the ecosystem as such is quite inefficient, or it could be really improved. The blockchain enables some advancements over previous technology, so we can guarantee the integrity of information. The administration is distributed, and also the blockchain enables more trust. Okay, so the solution within the project proposed solution is to create a blockchain which will connect the supply chain owners and transport companies. And the goal is to somehow share properly all the data, do the messaging about the status of the cargo within the whole supply chain. The solution is assuming that data will be provided on a container level, so all the logging about the statuses of the containers, and the whole transaction history is logged in the blockchain. And information can be shared among the stakeholders according to agreed rules. So here, this is not an example of the open blockchain, which can be accessible by anyone. It's an example of permissioned blockchain, which means that only specific organizations can access the data according to the specified rules, of course. So the contribution of the project is that all stakeholders, involved parties, will be able to optimize their resources to have better information, almost real-time information about the statuses of the cargo, and therefore will be able to improve their operations. So the distributed model has been shown to have huge direct effects, savings, and much higher efficiency. However, also indirect effects will probably be very significant. Okay, so Smartlog, this is actually an EU project. It's not a market-oriented product or service. It's a proof of concept project. And also, as a result, all the source code will be published at the end of the project, which is in 2019. So here are also some technical specifications. So the first version of the blockchain tools were distributed to the companies in October 2017. Here you can see the scheme of the architecture. So it's somehow very distributed, not centralized architecture, as you can see. And well, the goal is to improve the throughput through those corridors. Of course, the project is focused on the Baltic region. However, the participants would be very happy to include also stakeholders from other regions to see what could be the potential benefits also in other regions, or perhaps in other modes of transport also. So roadmap in 2017, the main functionalities were developed. In 2018, the API smart contracts are being developed. Also data mining and artificial intelligence is to be added on the top of that. Here's a list of the key stakeholders from Finland. And as mentioned, it's funded mostly by the European Union. And if you have any further questions or would like to get more information or connect, get involved into the project, please contact Mika Lammi, which is the coordinator of the project. Okay, so thank you for this one, for your participation. And now we'll go to the CargoX presentation, which will be done by Rok Žibrat. Just a second, let me put you. Okay, presenter. Okay, so Rok, go ahead.
Hi, hello, welcome. Let me just share my screen with you.
Or if not, I might have. I'm also showing the presentation. I'm not sure which one is shown, but okay, you can go ahead and I'll also go through the presentation.
Okay, so as you mentioned, we are also a company from Slovenia. We're called CargoX, and we are making blockchain-based solutions for the logistics and supply chain industry. Our advantages at this point in the development of the blockchain solutions is that we have a working product that is on the market right now, and I'll explain some of the specifics and our roadmap and how we leverage the blockchain technology for the logistics industry. If you could go to the next slide, please.
I connected another screen for Nebojša, so now I'm... Oh, I'll use that.
Okay, go ahead, Rok.
Until when on Tuesday?
All right. Okay, so yeah, that is my screen. Okay, so our key area, it revolves around the most important documents in global logistics, which are the bill of lading, the telex release, and other documents that involve also settlement solutions and banks. The first one that we focused on is the bill of lading, which, if you're not aware of, is a sort of a passport for the goods being shipped on the container ships and various cargo ships. And that is what we have on the market right now. And it's not just a single application. There are options, and we are in the process of integrating these solutions into other systems, such as companies' ERP systems, and we'll come out with a mobile version of our user interface towards the end of this year. The obvious advantages are that obviously we're talking about a paperless system, and that in terms of logistics means a lot, because at this point in time, or almost 100% of the companies are still using paper to send this bill of lading, so this passport of the goods over from the importer to the from the exporter to the importer. And this process also involves two logistic companies on each end. So we have four parties involved in transferring this document. I'll explain this in another slide. And here, just to mention, another advantage of using the blockchain obviously is the immutability and the tracking capabilities allowed by the technology that we're leveraging. For example, it's very easy to check at the end of the journey of cargo whether someone that came to the port to pick up the container really is the legitimate owner of the document, of the title to the goods. Why would you even do this on the blockchain? People say, well, you know, it's paperless, so you could do this in a centralized manner. But the decentralization of the blockchain technology, and by the way, we are currently based on the Ethereum blockchain. So a well-known, well-established, very, very decentralized network. And that means that there is no central point of failure, no central point of attack for potential malevolent parties or hackers. And in our case, we enable only the involved parties access to the documents. Obviously, just to give you an overview of this process. So for the bill of lading document, at the top you have the exporter, obviously the manufacturer of the goods, sending the goods via a cargo ship to the importer. In the background, we have a document being issued by the logistics agent of the exporter, then sent to the exporter. Then when the exporter receives the payment from the importer, we have this document, usually by some sort of DHL airplane courier service, sent to usually the other side of the planet. So mostly we're talking about cargo that's shipped from the big manufacturing sites and ports in Asia to Europe or northern Americas. And then once the importer receives this document, he or she will forward the document to his or her logistics agent, which will go to pick up the goods at the destination port. So that is the workflow of the document as it exists today. Obviously, we're not changing the workflow. We still need all of the involved parties, but we're changing the technology behind it, where we take this document. It doesn't really matter whether it's a paper document that we scan or a digital document that was entered directly into the digital form, into our application, and sending it through the blockchain through all of the parties. A bit more on how this looks or works. So the four parties in terms of the bill of lading are called the issuer, which issues the BL, the shipper, which is usually the exporter of the goods, the consignee, which is the buyer or the importer, and the delivery agent, which is the logistics partner of the buyer. The way things work is we transfer the document using the blockchain, using digital signatures with the state-of-the-art technology or the best technology that is available at any present moment. At this time, this means ledger or Trezor hardware wallets, which of course are as secure, if not more secure, than your way of accessing your online banking, where you confirm each transaction, and the transaction in this case is the transfer of the ownership of the goods. Why is this so important? Obviously, the person or the company that has current ownership of the bill of lading has also the title to the goods. So in a scenario that we're helping to eliminate, for instance, if the paper-based, the old type of workflow gets issues along the way, if the paper is not at the destination port, if the bill of lading is not at the destination port when the cargo is already there, you not only can't pick up the cargo, but you will also be charged storage, demurrage costs at the port itself. So it's very crucial in terms of cost optimization to have the document at the destination port, obviously on time and with verified ownership. In our case, the issuing of this document is practically instant and immediately available to the exporter, to the manufacturer of the goods. And usually when the agreed conditions are met, the agreed conditions are, of course, payment for the goods. The exporter will then send the bill of lading to the importer, and while the cargo is already loaded and on its way to the destination. I like to joke about how today everybody wants to know not only what the blockchain is, but how the blockchain works. I think that in the future, we will no longer be asking ourselves this question, as we're not asking ourselves how email or mobile phones work. It is just a technology that is the best that humanity has so far. And I think it will be a part of our everyday life, both in terms of business to business and business to customer solutions. Why are we getting extremely good acceptance on the market? I think it's not just the speed and the security that's involved, but especially the cost reduction. If you imagine sending a paper or a document 3 times, So we have 4 parties. So there are 3 transfers of the document that can easily amount up to combined cost of roughly $100. With our solution, you save a minimum of 85% on that, which is substantial and has really given our market acceptance wings, I would say. Who can benefit? Obviously, everybody that's involved in this process. So these are freight forwarders or NVOCCs, exporters, importers, various platforms that provide solutions for the aforementioned players. So software companies that are producing or thinking about working in this field, various alliances of freight forwarders, and of course, last but not least, a generalization, I would say, all companies where sending important documents is part of their workflow. Just a quick summary of the benefits. Our product is called SmartBL. So the benefit or the difference in sending a paper-based document or over courier services or a digital document through the blockchain. Obviously, the benefits are many. I mentioned that one is, of course, the sheer cost, which is decimated really. Once you put the document on the blockchain, we take care of everything else. So the next party that has to transfer the document doesn't incur any costs at all. The change of ownership is also very simple and confirmed and traceable and almost instant from our application. The time in transit, obviously paper-based documents take days, sometimes weeks, and are very easily stolen or lost or counterfeited, leveraging the blockchain technology for managing this document and its change of ownership takes the possibility of this ever happening practically to zero. And of course, archiving is very easily done. As every blockchain enthusiast know, once something is written on the public blockchain, and Martin, you've mentioned that as well, it is there forever. And we are expanding our solution, of course, also to include cargo information, not just the ownership of the cargo, but also its location, temperature, etc., information that is crucial to the some types of cargo. So with this, I would like you to perhaps ask a question if you would like, anyone from the audience. You can also contact me at rzibrat@cargox.io or write to info@cargox.io should you have any questions or would like us to cooperate in the future. And I thank you all for your attention and the organizers.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we'll switch back to me. I'll show the last presentation, which is about route optimization. Route optimization is actually quite it has been there for some time. So price is of course a very important factor in logistics operations. Here with route optimization, we're mostly focusing on road transport, road network, and route optimization is depicted here by by this schematic representation. So it's about finding a good solution for several vehicles, how to deliver or make stops at different locations to fulfill some service or delivery or pickup or something similar. And it's a hugely complex mathematical problem. It's not just about finding optimal route to the next location. So some people say, yes, we have route optimization because we have navigation devices, and they help us find the optimal route. This is not the same problem. Route optimization is much more complex. It's based on the traveling salesman problem. Okay, let me explain you a little bit. So the traveling salesman problem, if you have only one vehicle and n locations that you need to visit, so how many possibilities are there? For the first location, there are n possibilities because you can choose any one of the n location. For the second location, there are only n-1 remaining possibilities because one was already visited, so there's one less. For the third, there's n-2 possibilities, and so forth. So all the possibilities are n factorial, which means n times n-1 times n-2, and so on until we reach number 1. So I guess you can tell I'm a mathematician by profession also because I like to explain some basic information. So complexity grows very fast. If you have one location, there's one possibility. For 2 locations, 2. 3, 6 possibilities. 4 means 24 possibilities. 5, 120. But for 10 locations, there are already more than 3 million possibilities. So it grows extremely rapidly. If you have 100 locations that you need to visit, I guess I wouldn't be able to write the number of this on the screen because there would be too many zeros. So it's really a very complex mathematical problem, and therefore humans are not capable of finding the optimal solution, not capable of trying so many possibilities, of course, and computer is much stronger here. Computers, for instance, also in playing chess, it's impossible to beat the computer because the computer will be able to check more possibilities. However, even the computer itself is not able to check all the possibilities and find the optimal solution for large cases. It will have to use some heuristic approaches which will enable you finding good solutions fast. So here's an example of convergence of the quality of the result. So if we start with the initial solution, which can be perhaps done manually by a dispatcher or something like that, at the beginning we'll improve through the process of optimization using the heuristic approaches. We'll improve the solution very, very fast. So we typically within, let's say, 5 minutes, we can save approximately 10%. Then the process slows down a bit, and perhaps in the next hour, we'll be able to save additional 5%. And then perhaps in the next day, we'll be able to save further few percents. And then the process will more or less slow down or finish almost. However, the optimal solution is probably not reached. However, the solutions that we can get in this time frame are probably a few percent away from the optimal solution. So here's also a schematic representation of what this route optimization does. It actually modifies the sequence of the locations that are used. So if you're going, if you compare the red sequence to the green one, you'll see there's a difference of 20% in length. But everything else, like vehicle utilization and so on, is the same. And the experience shows that this classic route optimization can save 10 to 30% of the costs compared to manual solutions, which are done, for instance, by dispatchers. So, but this is for, let's say, large fleets, large meaning at least 10 vehicles, and each vehicle making, let's say, more than 5 stops. If you fit into this category, you definitely should look into start using route optimization, because it will save you almost at least 10% of the cost. That's almost guaranteed. I have, let's say, over 10 years of experience with fleet management, also route optimization, so on. I have done, I believe, over 50 pilot projects, and there's only one case where the computed savings were less than 10%, and it was for delivery to kiosks, to sales points of. Actually, it was a newspaper delivery within the city, and the locations were very dense, and the routes are similar practically every day. So that's why they were able to do good results. However, still in their case, we were able to get some 5% improvement. So I really urge you, if you do road network or road transport distribution, do consider start using route optimization. Okay. I would just like to mention something that we've also developed in-house and is really state-of-the-art or beyond anything else that's available by anybody else. So we are experts on multi-objective optimization, meaning finding trade-off solutions, because alternative routes can be many and difficult to find. Let me just show you here an example. So if you're going here from point A to point B, that's the case of Ljubljana, my hometown. The fastest route goes on the ring around the city, and the shortest one through the city. And the difference is about 10% in time and 50% in the distance. So, and there are probably also other trade-off solutions in between. Here's just an example of a route in California. And if you want to find out all the trade-off solutions, so if this is the shortest and the fastest routes on the extremes, to compute all of them, the best published algorithm, which would take you more than 1 day. So more than 1 day to compute the red dots. These are all the solutions that are somehow the best in some sense. And it would also take you more than, several hours to compute the blue dots. Our experience is that classic route optimization can save 10 to 30% of the costs, and alternative routes can save additional 5 to 15% on top of that. And the difference is somehow depicted here. So classic route optimization deals with sequence of the locations, and alternative routes deal with different possibilities between each pair of locations. Because in classic route optimization, you assume there's only one connection between locations, which is usually the fastest route. So in the case of a truck, if the total operating costs are around 70,000 euros per year, the daily costs are about 200 euros per day, and classical route optimization can save, on average, 30 euros per day, and alternative routes, additional 10 euros per day. Yeah, so we developed this algorithm which is providing more and better alternative routes fast, and it was launched at CeBIT a few days ago. Here's like, let's say, a screenshot of how this looks like. So you have several alternatives depicted here in gray. Here we see the graph of the results for a specific case. So the shortest and fastest route, and the orange dots are the ones that can be delivered by our algorithm within 1 second. So many possibilities to choose from. For example, if you're going somewhere, navigation would usually give you the fastest route. However, if you're not in a hurry and you're a bit savvy on the price, you might arrive there a few minutes later, but save something on the fuel costs. That's the bottom. That's the main idea. So yeah, this is the majority of the presentation. Once again, route optimization is hugely important for road transportation, especially. And if you do any kind of distribution, definitely you should think about this. Okay, so I would like to thank you for your patience and for being here with us. I hope you got some interesting information. I would like to thank you also to our hosts, the Watify again, and wishing you a great day. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. This is Nicholas again. You heard me earlier when we had some problems. Thank you very much for presenting. I think this is a really interesting topic as, logistics obviously are very much touched by new technologies. I mean, you gave great examples with the blockchain in the beginning from Rok and how that technology can be used to facilitate, cargo basically, and also, I mean, route optimization is of course something that's very interesting to a lot of companies and especially SMEs. So thank you very much for presenting. For everyone, for all the attendees, you will get an email with a link to an evaluation. So it's very short, so please do fill it in so that we know what we can do better. And you can, if you have any questions, you can answer to that email and I will connect you with our presenters. And of course, as you see right now on the slide, do have a look on our website. We have a lot of nice stuff there. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you too for presenting. And just like to wish everyone a nice Friday and weekend, and hope to see you again at a future Watify webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye bye everyone.